All right, well today folks, we have a new Mini Cooper in the family. This is a 2012 Mini Cooper S R56. Needs a little bit of work. It looks like the dealer wanted to send it to the auction because it had misfire codes, got a coolant leak. So test drove the vehicle. The engine runs good as long as you don't stress it. As soon as you stress it, put more power on the more boost on the turbo, it misfires. And if you know Mini Coopers, you know misfires. You know, it could be valve train because these valve seats tend to fall out. But this is a nice little car. It's got the panoramic sunroof. It's got the rear spoiler. Somebody put some aftermarket wheels on it. The tires are brand new. Got the whole car for $3,000 out the door. It's got the factory driving lights on it. Someone's put a Bluetooth adapter in there for the stereo. So, you know, the buttons are a little worn, but that's typical. It's got the nice leather seats. It's missing a couple pieces in the back, like the partial shelf. It does have the center armrest, and it has the lumbar adjustment. So that's a nice feature. Normally in a Mini, you have to put that in yourself. It's got the Harman Kardon sound. It's got the typical net falling out of the sunroof. But anyway, so we're going to pull this in the garage, pressure check the cooling system, change some spark plugs and coils, and see if we can get those misfires to go away and that pesky coolant leak. Got to find out where it's coming from. All right, so we've got the two main things that came up on the scan tool were misfires in cylinders 1, 3, 4. So we need to deal with the misfire issue. I suspect it's coils and plugs. Based on the fact what I said previously about it would misfire under load. I drove it all the way here from the dealership about 16 miles and it didn't misfire at all, but I didn't drive it hard. So I suspect it's secondary ignition fault. Not going to really bother with the lab scope and hooking it up and analyzing it, because you got to put quite a bit of a load on the car to make it misfire, and trying to do that with a lab scope and drive the car at the same time is pretty tough. So I'm just going to swap some things out. You can see someone's taped this line here that's was broken instead of replacing the line, and this inlet to the turbo is cracked right here, so that tube probably needs to be replaced with a better aftermarket one that's not plastic. And then so we've got the pressure tester hooked up. We're going to check. That's the other big thing, is the cooling system leak. It does have a valve cover leak, which is probably normal for a 13-year-old car with 65,000 miles. The timing gear sounds fine. You guys know about Mini Cooper death rattles and all that kind of stuff. There are no, and I didn't get any. I cleared all the codes before I drove it home, drove it all the way here, and no fault codes came back. Of course, again, I didn't drive it hard. As soon as you step on the gas, you're going to get misfires. So we're going to pull this tube off, pull that air cleaner box off. The dealership said this was dirty and the spark plugs need to be changed. So we're going to, first thing we'll do is change the plugs, and then we'll drive it, fix the coolant leak, and then make sure that I don't have any more misfires. But boy, these turbo cars have a lot of stuff in the way to get off. So we'll get to that and find out where the coolant's leaking. All right, so we have the spark plugs out. All the cylinders have been misfiring. This car, again, it's a 2012, and it looks like it has original bruised spark plugs in it. I don't think these have ever been changed. This is the specified gap for the turbocharged N18 engine, this 28 thousandths. And if you look at this plug, if I can hold that right there, and I look at that feeler gauge, and I put that in there right like that, you can see that the gap is about 3 times more than the specified value, and that is going to cause secondary ignition misfires. So this one, I measured it, it's about close to 70 thousandths. Supposed to be 28. So we're going to put a new set of spark plugs in there and see if that takes care of my misfires. One of these plugs, if you look at it under the magnifying glass, let's see if this camera actually works under the magnifying glass, you can see that the center electrode is actually no longer square. It's all the edges are rounded off. So that's number 1. That's number 2. That's got a nice point to it. I'm not sure how these brew plugs come, but I think they're squared tip. Oh, that's number 3. It's got a fine tip to it. And then this is number 4. This is the one that has the huge gap. So yeah, these plugs should have been changed a while ago. The book specifies 60,000 miles, and these were changed, not changed at 60,000 miles, and it's got 65 on it now. So what's next? All right, so what we found so far is down on the thermostat housing is cracked, and that's where the coolant leak's coming from. So we'll change that thermostat and the crossover pipe that goes to the water pump. And then they got the coil packs out. These are definitely not OEM coil packs. These look like Amazon specials. I'm not sure what a magats coil pack is, but it's probably causing the misfire problem. Because you all know how. Now we also pop the intake manifold back, and we're going to stick a scope down there and just see how much carbon cleaning we need to do on the intake valves, because this is a direct injected engine and the intake valves tend to carbon up. So we're making a list of parts, and we're going to go from there. All right, today's day 2. Got a bunch of parts ordered yesterday, and today we pulled off the valve cover because it's got a valve cover leak. You can see clearly. And impressed though, the valve train looks pretty good. It's pretty clean in here. I don't see any sludge. All the springs are clean on the Vanos intermediate levers. So no scoring on the cam lobes. So it looks pretty good. Little bit of, well, it's just nothing really light. Something really light. Not even a fingernail. So looks pretty good. Timing chain looks good. Guides look good. Stick a scope down there and check the rest of the guides. Make sure they're not broken on the bottom. And now we'll pull the spark plugs. Alright, so we've got the intake, whoops, got the intake manifold removed, and if I kind of zoom around and stick some camera down in there, you can see just how dirty those valves are right from the camera directly. Pretty dirty. Pretty dirty. There's cylinder 1. There's cylinder 4. So all very dirty. So we get that off. We also have a leak right here at the bottom of the coolant tank. So we'll put a new coolant tank on it. We'll put a new lower hose on it as well. This is day 3. So today we got the thermostat out. And the water pump is also leaking, so we're going to change the water pump. And the water pump drive pulley rubber coating is deteriorated, so it'll get a new water pump drive pulley. And then, like an idiot, I punctured this hose when I was taking it off with my tool, so I have to buy a new hose. So that's on the way. It's the turbo return line for coolant. I don't know about these Gen 2 minis. The oil filter is buried underneath all these hoses. I'm not sure how the people get those things out when it's all put together. Probably ought to change it right now, because I don't know if the dealership really changed it when they said they changed the oil. So anyway, drain the coolant, and then if you come down here and you look in the bucket, you can see all sorts of shiny glittery things in the bucket. So somebody put some stop leak in the cooling system to try to fix a plastic crack in the thermostat. Obviously didn't work, so we'll have to flush the whole cooling system as well to get all that garbage out of the cooling system so it doesn't plug up the radiator. So now we're off to disassembling and taking this charge pipe out so we can get to the engine mount. So we take that out so I can take the drive pulley off and the water pump and all that good stuff. So that's the next project. Day 3, part 2. We've got the water pump out, got the thermostat out, and this is great. This water pump looks OEM. Was definitely leaking at the gasket. And then if you look closely at the pump, there's all of that stoplight crap all over the pump. So we've got a new water pump coming, the one with the steel impeller and the steel housing, so we don't have to deal with this plastic junk. So it's day 3, part 3. I figured I would pull the cabin air filter out. It looks like this is 2025 and this car is a 2012, so it's 13 years old, and it's got the original cabin air filter in it. Yeah, it looks lovely. It's even got the, even says mini on it. So I doubt anybody's going to the dealership to buy these filters, and from the looks of it, it looks original. Yeah, so so much for getting that changed out. All right, everyone, today is day 4. So waiting for parts mostly, and we're gonna clean. We cleaned off the top of the brake master cylinder reservoir, and we're pulling the fluid out, and we're doing a brake fluid flush because if you see, I think they've been putting engine oil in the brake fluid. So we're gonna pull all that fluid out and flush it, because these people did not believe in maintenance. So the brake fluid flush is done, and that is what the brake fluid is supposed to look like. It's supposed to be clear, not like this stuff that's in the jar over here. Take this out. Cap out. And pour this into my recycling container. And this is what came out of the car. This engine oil stuff. That is some pretty nasty brake fluid. But it's all good now. It's day 4, and the parts man cometh. So we have a scan gauge 3, so we can monitor oil pressure, coolant temperature, all that good stuff. We have a new thermostat. Not sure what Minnie was thinking though when they made this thermostat that requires a pigtail. So you've got this thermostat from Molly, which is an OEM supplier, and it has a connector there for the map thermostat. It's got connector there for the temperature sensor. But if you look at the OEM, yeah, OEM, really high quality, 65,000 miles on this thing. Alright, so as I was saying before, I was rudely cut off by my dead battery. This thermostat has a 4-pin connector, and it looks like it has an integrated map sensor and coolant temperature sensor all in one. This is the new one, and it's the same unit, but it has 2 connectors. So you have to buy a pigtail to get this one to fit. So anyway, the new thermostat. Let's see what else we have here. Got a new coolant recovery tank, new water pump, new hose to go with the coolant recovery tank, ignition coils, only 1 spark plug came, those will be here tomorrow, and a water pump. This is a Vico. It has an aluminum housing with a plastic impeller. And then I have a URO made in Germany, friction wheel, intake manifold gaskets, and a new turbo inlet pipe because the old one was cracked. So, time to get to work. Alright, I think today's day 5. Yeah, could be day 5. So today, as you can see, this is the old serpentine belt, so we got rid of that. There's already a new one on the car. Throw that away. And from ECS Tuning, we've got this adapter, extraction adapter, so I can do the walnut blasting. Got a new motor mount at the bottom. Got a new tube. This is from URO, and this piece here is actually aluminum instead of plastic, so that's a nice upgrade. And valve cover gasket. Got a new coolant crossover pipe. New cabin air filter, and from Craven Speed, a scan gauge 3 mount to go with that scan gauge, because I like to know what my temperatures and pressures are when I'm driving the car. So back to work. I'm putting stuff together. Did go into new, no, it's not new TIS. It was realoem.com. Found out there were two, looks like three manufacturers for spark plugs: Brew, Bosch, and NGK. And as you can see from the gap here, that is right at 28 thousandths. Unlike the plugs I took out of the car, were 70. So we're going to put these spark plugs in. Just verifying all the gaps. Beautiful. And yep, everything is wonderful. So we'll put these in, look up a torque spec, and torque them down. Alright, spark plugs are supposed to be 17 plus or minus 2 foot-pounds, which is, if you go to 18, that's 216 inch-pounds. So we'll just, since I've got this torque wrench out, I'll just set it for that. Let me see, there's 205, and that's 210, 215, 216, so that's right there. Torque these plugs down. That's good. That's that one. Now I'm going to leave this valve cover off because I still have to do the walnut blasting. And when you do the walnut blasting, it's good to make sure that the valves are closed. Even though this at idle, there's no lift on this engine. It's microns of lift on the valves, so the valves are all closed right now anyway. But just to make sure everything's really closed, we'll be turning the crank, watching the valve train, and make sure that and we'll blast in accordance with the firing order. So it's 1 4 3 2. We'll blast. We'll go cylinder 1, cylinder 4, cylinder 3, cylinder 2. No, 1 3 4 2. That's right, 1 3 4 2. So we'll do the walnut blasting in the firing order, just to make sure that the valves are closed. And then as a bonus, what you can do is on the eccentric shaft motor, you can unscrew it. So we move this eccentric shaft cam to minimum lift, and it looks like it's at minimum lift anyway. So anyway, put the torque wrench up, spark plugs are in. Alright, so we have the first cylinder walnut blasted, and if you look down in there, gotta turn the light. So if you look down in the bore, you can see that it is much cleaner down in there than it is over here in number 2. Let's see what that does. And go back to number 1. Nice and clean. Okay, so yesterday I think was day 6. Today's day 7. So if you're looking at the finder scope here, I'm going to turn off that light. Hang on a second. Turn off that light to kill the glare. That's what the valves look like now after they've been walnut blasted. Now you notice they're a little wet looking. Right, there's the other valve over there. Oh, can't get to it. No, turn that thing. Anyway, they all look the same, but the valves are much cleaner. Once you've done the walnut blasting, it's difficult to get the backside of the valve with the walnut blaster. So just take a can of seafoam, spray, make sure the valve, the valve's closed in the cylinder. Spray this down in there, and this thing, this stuff will emulsify any remaining carbon, and it will look like what you've seen here in this picture. So it really just kind of dissolves the carbon off the valve, and you have a really nice clean valve got most of the carbon off with the walnut shells, and then use the seafoam to get the backside, and it will bubble that carbon off just like scrubbing bubbles on soap scum in the bathtub. It works really well. So, and you can tell by the results. Today is, I think it's day 7. I can't even keep track of the days anymore. We got new spark plugs in, new ignition coils. We got a new valve cover gasket, and we've got a new thermostat, new oil filter, because someone said they changed the oil and they didn't. And then what we have down here, just kind of bear with me here as I twist the camera. We got this new metal pipe. Instead of plastic, it's metal. It's from ECS Tuning. It's $104 plus shipping, tax, and all that good stuff. But I'm sure it's going to last much longer than the plastic one, because I did order a plastic one from Rock Auto, and those things are so fragile, it was broken before it got here. So that's where we are today. Got to put the intake manifold back on, and then connect all the wires up, and pressure check the cooling system, put the new recovery tank in, and Lord willing and the creek don't rise, it'll run great. Alright, so she's all back together. New pipe, new air filter, way motor works, charger tube for the inlet to the turbo, service the coolant, everything's connected. Got a little broken clip here, not sure what that's for. Looks like it goes like this. There we go. Need to get a new one of these. So we're going to go into the car, since there was so much carbon on the valves, and we're going to go in there and clear all the adaptations. Let me see here. I don't know if it's an advanced or special function. Let's see where it is. Let's see. 65,000 miles. 350. All right, so the finishing touches, we steam cleaned the engine compartment, got a new engine cover that was missing from eBay, put a new AC compressor in it today because that wasn't working. It was a bad clutch coil. Instead of buying a clutch coil, I just put a whole new compressor in it. And then they got a couple more bits that were missing. The trunk floor back here, this panel was missing. So I got that from eBay, got all the cargo nets back, and then in a couple days I should have a partial shelf and the missing toolkit. Got that out of a salvage place in the UK. So that's got the what do you call it? The mobility kit with the slime and the pump, air compressor. So car is going to be all fixed up and just needs a little bit of touch on the bodywork and some polishing on the paint, and it's a nice little Mini. So if you're in the market for a Mini Cooper, you can look for used ones, but be careful, because you're gonna spend some money. I spent about $2,500 on this car, and just in parts, and getting a second key at the dealership, that was another $285 because it only came with one key. And what was the last thing? Oh yeah, and about 35 hours worth of labor. So can you imagine paying that fee at the dealership? So anyway, happy motoring. See you next time.